Shut up and sit down.
Euthanasia Essay. Essay on euthanasia for students and children in English. Unfortunately, there are people out there who are suffering from a long-term illness or injury and find death to be their ultimate solution. They are in so much pain and suffering that they no longer find their quality of life to be an acceptable level. There are many forms of euthanasia, which include people suffering from incurable disorders, newborns with several congenital disabilities, and adults in their final stage of a terminal illness under medical life support. Euthanasia is classified into passive and active euthanasia. Passive euthanasia is when a patient stops taking essential medications which would eventually cause them to die. Active euthanasia is when you are terminating a person's life. When it comes to passive euthanasia, the acceptance level among the masses is way more than active euthanasia, as it directly withholds the physician with the responsibility to insert a lethal substance into the patient's body to help them die. A strong ethical argument against the use of euthanasia is that it could soon become a slippery slope, with the legalization of involuntary euthanasia following it. In the perspective of a person in support of mercy killing, one should have the right to self-determination and thus be allowed to choose their fate. Pro-euthanasia activists often point at countries that have legalized euthanasia like Belgium and Netherlands to argue that it's mostly unproblematic. But under the Indian Constitution, right to life is embodied in Article 21. Euthanasia, suicide, is an abnormal termination of life and therefore incompatible and inconsistent with the concept of right to life. Supreme Court in Giancor case in 1996 has held that the right to life under Article 21 does not include the right to die. The right to refuse medical help is approved by law, including medical treatment that sustains or prolongs life. India legalized passive euthanasia in 2011. Recognition of the right to refuse treatment gives way for passive euthanasia. Euthanasia in terminally ill patients provides scope for organ donation. This in turn helps many in need of an organ transplant, thereby giving someone the right to die in return, help another with their right to live. However, several criticism can be seen going against euthanasia. For example, in some cases of euthanasia, when the patient is verbally incapable, their guardian is responsible for making the decision, and that might not be in a person's best interest. For example, getting old-aged parents killed for property will. The strongest argument against euthanasia is that there is no way to regulate mercy killing properly. Allowing the undermines the commitment of doctors and nurses to saving lives. Euthanasia may become a cost-effective way to treat the terminally ill, and this will discourage the search for new cures and treatments for them. We now know that there are strong arguments from both sides. There does not seem to be any cut and dry reasoning behind whether the practice of euthanasia is good or bad. On one end, it can be used to release someone from suffering, but on the other hand, it can be used to hide punishable criminal acts. This topic stands at a moral and ethical shaky ground, thus making it harder to be accepted and legalized. 10 lines on euthanasia is in English. Euthanasia is the voluntary act of a patient suffering a terminal disease of terminating their life. Euthanasia is essentially divided into two types, active and passive euthanasia. In active euthanasia, a person directly and deliberately causes the patient's death with lethal drug dosage. In passive euthanasia, the patient refuses life-saving medical help. Euthanasia is illegal in most countries except few countries such as Netherlands, Belgium, etc. Active euthanasia is illegal in India as it goes against Article 21, which advocates for the right to live. Many patients opting for euthanasia have been involved in organ donation. Unfortunately, euthanasia has also been misused to lead to some serious organized crimes. Euthanasia is an activity that involves several ethical human rights, social, economic, moral, religious, spiritual, and legal factors. Euthanasia has been a topic of intense debate globally as it includes a fair share of both pros and cons.